Hello, and welcome to Exploring Effective Models for Retreat Training, our April 25th, 2025 webinar. Come along with us today to learn about three unique retreat style programs: New Jersey's A Sure Thing, Virginia's Senior Retreat, and Wisconsin's Adventures in Vision Loss program. Discover what these programs have in common and what sets them apart, including their implementation methods, duration, structure, and more. Let's dive in. New Jersey, Allison Cohen. I would love to learn a little bit more about your program, A Sure Thing. Could you please tell me a little bit about how the program works and who's eligible to participate?
Yes. So our SHORE program, it stands for Senior Hands-On Retreat Experience, is a week-long intensive independence training program to provide real-life experiences to those who are 55 and older, 55 and older consumers of ours. The reason that it's called the SHORE program is because we like to hold it in areas that are close to the shore, to the Jersey Shore. So some of our previous programs have been held in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and in Long Branch, New Jersey, which are both beachside, oceanfront destinations. So
Very
it gives
nice.
a very nice addition to the program and opportunities for trips and experiences that our seniors in their homes may not have the opportunity to experience anymore.
So, when they go to these destinations, where do they get to stay?
So they stay in, we're usually housed in a hotel. So in Atlantic City, it's previously been in one of the casino hotels. Atlantic City is a very large casino destination. So we usually will stay in one of the casinos. And when we do hold it in Long Branch or further north of where Atlantic City is, it's in one of the like hotel resort type accommodations.
That's amazing. How fun for these adults.
Yes.
I might have to go help you train. Um,
It's such a fun program. It's one of my, I've worked this program since our inception, back in 2016. And it's like, it's so nice to have come full circle where, I started out as a rehab teacher, just helping plan and work the program to then becoming a supervisor, to have a little bit more autonomy and assist with the program. And now to be the director of the program and making all of the decisions is really an honor.
that is very for in terms of the consumers, are all of the consumers funded under OIB funding?
Yes, so it's all under
Okay.
OIB funding. The consumers don't have to pay for anything. We cover their accommodations, their food, any materials and items that we provide during the program, they get to keep and take home with them. The only thing that they are responsible for paying for is any incidentals or extra things that they'd want to purchase or do outside of the program.
Okay. So, two thoughts. Sorry. So, transportation to and from the destination, is that included?
It is included. We do encourage our consumers to take advantage of their mobility skills and their
Awesome.
transportation options. However, we know that it is quite a distance depending on where we're located and that's not always an option. We do allow consumers to bring a plus one, a companion. It can
Okay.
be a family member, a friend. So a lot of times those people will also bring them to the program. But if in the event they cannot get to the program, we do arrange for transportation through the use of our driver aids, and we rent cars and arrange. We start on a Sunday, so it makes it a little bit easier to arrange for getting the consumers to the program, and then we end on a Friday, which is a telework day for our staff, so it makes it a little bit easier to transport them if needed.
Okay. That makes perfect sense. And in terms of other expenses like incidentals, do you all plan their after hours activities as well, or do they kind of get some free time in there also after hours?
So during the first couple programs that we ran, we had activities planned all day long, and then we had after dinner activities
Okay.
planned. And we quickly learned that this population was exhausted after like the first or second day of the jam-packed days. So we started cutting out the after dinner activities. So what we will
Okay.
do is we'll go all day long, incorporating breaks in, similar to like a conference style, where we have
Mhm.
planned activities throughout the day, breaks, lunch, and then we do dinner as a group at either one of the restaurants locally, depending on where we are, or in the casino areas, we have access to restaurants within the casino. So we'll do a group dinner, and then usually after dinner, it's just free time where they have the choice to go out and explore, do whatever they want, or go back to their rooms and relax.
That makes perfect sense. That is a long day. Even as a conference attendee, we know that
Yes.
it's a long day and you're pretty wiped out by the end of the day.
Yeah.
In terms of programming that you try to cover or a curriculum, do you use kind of the same curriculum every year, or do you kind of vary it depending on the people that you're working with?
We do generally follow the same, I would say, outline for the curriculum, and then
Okay.
just make tweaks and adjustments throughout. So we always include orientation and mobility, rehab teaching, and our eye health nursing disciplines. And I try to give the staff the autonomy to create the activities that they would like to work on with the consumers. But we do really have kind of a really good foundation of what's worked in the past and what we try to stick to. We may just change things up activities wise, items wise. And then within the instruction that we do, we also bring in presenters. So we bring in local agencies that provide services to consumers, not just who are visually impaired, but maybe the Department on Aging, or
Okay.
we do like an emergency preparedness seminar type thing. We have had someone come in and do adaptive exercises with
Oh,
the
cool.
consumers. Um, just, whatever we think might be of interest to the group. We try to
Okay.
vary it, but we do sometimes keep to the same what works. And then during each trip, during each program, we also plan a day to do a trip. When we're in Atlantic City, we go to this little shopping village called Smithville. And they have a bunch of little shops and bakery and restaurant and different things. And we did last fall when we did this program, we did a scavenger hunt. Our mobility instructors put together a little scavenger hunt for them, and we did like a guided tour scavenger hunt of the shopping area, and then in the afternoon gave them some free time after lunch to go and use their skills and go shopping, and with assistance if needed. When
Very
we were
cool.
in Long Branch, we did a walking tour, food tasting tour of Asbury Park, which is a beachside community that has shops and restaurants and things down a couple of their main streets. So we did a walking food tour guided by our mobility instructors of that area, and they got to try different foods and things. So that was also really fun. So we tried to incorporate some kind of adventure trip outing to encourage the consumers to use their mobility skills and to show them and give them confidence that they're still able to do these kinds of things.
That's awesome. And that sounds like a lot of fun. I'm very
It is a
jealous that
lot of
we don't
fun.
have this program here. It sounds great. Um, in terms of your instructors, it sounds like you've got some mobility instructors in there. Are all of your instructors trained in-house or are they certified in the field? What kind of instructors do you have?
So all of our mobility instructors are certified ACVREP mobility instructors.
Okay.
Most of them are in-house. We do contract a few mobility instructors to supplement some of the needs that we've had recently,
Okay.
but the core group of our mobility instructors are in-house. Our rehab teachers, some of them are certified ACVREP, but they're not required to be. And our nurses are all certified, or I'm sorry, not certified, licensed nurses.
Okay. Very cool. I love the inclusion of a nurse.
There actually are instructors who work with our consumers on medication management, pill organization, diabetic instruction and education.
Got it.
So they'll do those kinds of things during the program. and work either one-on-one or one on a couple. I also forgot to mention that this program, we usually allow for 12 participants to join the program each
Okay.
time. So it's a lot of like I try to aim for 2-on-1, no more than really 3-on-1 per
Okay.
instructor for everything, so that they can get the most out
The
of
time.
yeah,
Okay.
the time and everything. Yeah,
That makes perfect sense. And then if you factor in family members, that's a solid 24 people. That's a decent amount of
exactly.
people. Yeah.
We also
Okay.
have, I didn't mention this, I should have, we have technology instructors as well. In addition to the rehab teachers, we do
Okay,
usually
great.
bring in 1 or 2 technology instructors. In the past, we've done iPads where each consumer has received an iPad,
Wow.
and then we help them get it kind of set up and functioning and turn on the accessibility features, and then work with them a little bit on using it during the program, and then follow up with them after the program to learn how to use it. We have learned over time that iPads are not the right piece of technology
Hmm.
for every participant. So we actually are looking at different options for our next program to see if we can incorporate other pieces of technology that we could evaluate and provide based on their own individual needs.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
great. That's still very awesome to even have the opportunity to receive a piece of technology like that.
Yes.
In terms of programming each year, it's held once a year?
It is. It used to be held
Okay.
twice a year pre-COVID. We have not gotten back to holding it twice a year
Okay.
at this time. So we've really just been holding it in the fall of the last couple of falls, and we're aiming to hold another one in the upcoming fall.
In the fall. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any training that you don't include that you would love to see included that maybe just hasn't been possible?
Um, one thing that is a little more difficult to do in a hotel type setting, and we're trying to find other ways to accomplish this, is cooking, cooking and kitchen instruction. So we have previously been doing this activity where we do sandwiches and salad, and we ask the staff to bring everything out in its organic form. So not to cut up the vegetables and the
Mhm.
lettuce and all of that. And we do instruction with the consumers, and then we also do blindfold instruction with the companions so that
Okay.
they can and we do that in a bunch of different ways with the companions. So the program really is beneficial to both the consumers and the companions that they bring with them, because we do also set up activities for the companions to do to learn what it's like and what their significant other or friend might be going through. So we do a lot of sensitivity training with them.
Okay.
um, and so that activity has been one of our more overwhelming activities to try and accomplish. And it's in the fact that, like, not everybody gets to do everything because there may be only 1 or 2 big carrots and 1 onion. Like, so just trying to come up with a way to incorporate those skills and activities, um, but in a less overwhelming and rushed kind of way. Uh, that's probably one of the things that we've struggled with recently and that I really want to change about the program. Other than that, I think we have, over the last 8 years, come up with a solid kind of framework and trial and error, adding and removing things that we either felt didn't work very well, or adding things that we really wanted to see as part of the program.
And that makes perfect sense being in a hotel. They're obviously not going to let you into their hotel kitchen. Anything else that you would like to share with us, with the audience for this webinar about this awesome program?
We One of the other really great parts of this program that I wanted to highlight, and forgive me, I'm glad you're asking me questions because I would forget all of these finer details. But we do an adjustment to vision loss segment during the program, and that is 100% probably the most talked about and most beneficial in the opinion of the consumers and the companions, because they each get it at separate times. Um,
Okay.
it always runs long, so I've been adding more and more time each time for this. There are tiers involved.
Mhm.
They really break it down, and our Aspire coordinator, she coordinates our support group programs, does such an amazing job at really explaining to the consumers what they're going through,
Mhm.
and then ways to help them kind of work through that, and then talks about our support groups that we offer to get them involved. Actually, it was really awesome. During one of our last, not this past program, the one before, the group became so close to one another. They actually formed their own support group
Oh, wow.
that meets, and we were talking about doing this like an alumni shore support group thing each year because they wanted to stay in touch. They wanted a way to be able to keep in touch with each other and meet on a regular basis. And so they did it. They formed their own support group, and it all stemmed from this session with Susan talking about adjustment to vision loss.
That's awesome. And I think it's one of those areas that we don't see covered enough across our field. There's not
Right.
necessarily counselors or mental health counselors trained specifically in vision loss and that adjustment process. So a lot of people just don't get that need met. So I love that that's included. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So to participate in your program, does somebody have to be a resident, a local resident, and within the counties you serve, or can they come from California to come and join?
They do have to be New Jersey residents. They have to be open consumers with us.
Okay.
It is a very, or it was at one time, a very selective process. We were really trying to aim the program to consumers who were new to their vision loss and didn't
Okay.
receive a lot of training yet, so that they would get the most benefit out of it. So our consumers, we usually would send out the application and the information and ask our caseworkers to look at their caseloads and kind of nominate the consumers that they feel would best benefit from the program.
Okay.
In the beginning, we used to have piles of applications, and we would sit there and go through each of them and, like, look at everything and figure out if the committee would figure out if they were a good candidate. When we first came back from COVID, we didn't have that problem. We actually were really like begging for people to participate, but it
Hmm.
was great because this last one in the fall, we actually did have to say no to people, which we
Oh,
hate
wow.
to do, but that's a good problem to have because
Hmm.
that means that we have people interested, we have potential consumers that would benefit, and they can always try and apply for the next one if they're still in need of services and instruction.
And do the participants only get to go through one time?
Yes, just
Okay.
one program during their eh, time with us.
Like
Yeah.
an active case, that makes
Y-
sense.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
else the same people, they love the program so much, we would have repeat people constantly.
But I think it's just such a beneficial thing to our adults that a lot of times we only think of a retreat or a camp style event for kids, but our adults are sitting at home and definitely need that time together with each other to kind of learn together and just network and build those friendships that maybe they're not having once once the vision loss sets in, they just kind of stay at home. So thank you so
Absolutely. And that
much.
is absolutely what happens. They make new friends that are all over the state, and they
Yeah.
keep in touch through the phone and through Zoom and through their iPads. So it's such a wonderful experience.
Virginia with Dave Fuller. All right. Well, thank you for joining me today. We are here to learn a little bit about your senior retreat. First of all, how long have you all been running that retreat?
Gosh, I've been with the agency now about 11 and a half years. It was in place before I arrived,
Wow.
so it's been around at least 10 years, I believe. Um, we have 6 regional offices across the state of Virginia, and our headquarters is located here in Richmond, Virginia. And on our campus, we have an incredible full campus training center where we have adult students who take classes there from September until mid-June.
Oh, wow.
And then every summer we have a 5-week program for middle and high school age students, and then a 2-week blocked off for our seniors to take
Okay.
classes. And originally it was only 1 week every summer in August. They've expanded it as of last year. It's now 2 1-week programs for people 55 and older.
Okay. And are they separate groups that participate in each of the
Yes,
weeks?
yes,
Okay.
2 separate groups, but same courses and programs and things that they'll be studying. They basically get an overview of all of the courses that are taught at the center. So they will
Okay.
have experiences with Braille, assistive technology, home management, orientation and mobility. So they really get a full glimpse of what the center does throughout the year. Frequently, it's a launching pad for individuals to go, gosh, I think I might want to be a full-time student. And it's a great way to introduce the center to our seniors because I taught there for 4.5 years for their home management class. And it's a full day when you're in the adult program. And even during the retreat, you're going from 8:30 in the morning until 5 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
For a lot of seniors who are not working, they may have kind of a sedentary lifestyle. And when you're thrust into that sort of environment, it's an awakening, you know. So it's a great way for folks to go, let me think about this because am I physically right for the program? Am I emotionally ready? Um, we have on our campus a very nice dormitory where students stay and seniors stay during the retreat, a cafeteria, a gymnasium.
Oh, wow.
They just got the bowling alley fixed.
Okay.
We have a swimming pool and yeah, but we also allow each of the seniors who come during the senior retreat to bring one friend or family member
Okay.
to participate in all the training for free. And I um, taught 4 years over there, and I have to say, the senior week was always my favorite week throughout the year. It's a fun group. The folks at the dorm told me uh, the seniors would stay up and play cards over at the dorm. And that's the other thing that's great about the retreat is so often people who have loss of vision, perhaps their family members work during the day, they're isolated at home, they don't have any connections within the blind community. So it is a great way of networking. We encourage it. Folks make friends for life, and it's a great social interactions as well. About half of the staff at the center are blind.
Okay.
So that's the other thing, family members can sympathize, but they may not be able to empathize about vision loss. And to be around your peers who are traveling the same journey that you're traveling can be really affirming, I think, and very supportive.
It can be. It definitely can also help the family members understand a little bit better what their family member maybe could be doing that maybe they're not doing at
Absolutely.
home.
Absolutely. That's a great point. We call them plus ones. The plus ones often learn as much, if not more, than the seniors themselves. It lets them see what the possibilities are. When I taught over there, I would have students frequently say, well, my family doesn't want me to use the stove because they're afraid I'll burn the house down.
Hmm.
But when they're there and they see people doing these things independently, then they go, oh my goodness.
And so for those lessons, do you all follow kind of a set curriculum that you use consistently over the years?
It 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 changes somewhat, depending on the instructor and maybe they want to try a new slant on their classes. It's a matter of whetting someone's appetite enough to want to learn more. And there are pros and cons to learning through home lessons and learning at the center. All of the classes at the center, including the senior retreat, are group classes. When you work through home lessons with a rehab teacher, it's one-on-one. So there is a slight difference. The best thing about working at the center is, as opposed to working with a rehab teacher maybe once or twice a month, you're going Monday through Thursday, learning all kinds of blind skills.
So in terms of the group training, when they're scheduled 8 to 5 during the day, do you do after hours activities, or do the individuals just kind of get some
Oh,
free reign
yeah,
to do what they want?
no, they have
Okay.
lots of other activities. And here again, it depends on the year. And, sometimes they've
Okay.
gone out to a dinner theater. They've done ballroom dancing,
Oh, cool.
any number of things. So yeah, they stay very active while they're here. And like I said, those would be, depending on if you need to rest, you rest. We experience
Okay.
that a lot too, that, we're going to work at your pace. If you need to take a break and go back to the dorm and, take a pause, we'll absolutely accommodate.
That's really awesome. And
Yeah.
they're all of your staff work for Virginia itself. It's all
hmm We're all
OIB funded, the whole program.
we're all state employees of the
Okay.
Commonwealth of Virginia. Yeah.
Okay. That's what
Yeah.
I thought, if I
Except
remember
for,
correctly.
we sometimes have drivers or, people, interpreters that we hire, but yeah, for
Okay.
the most part, we're all state employees.
Okay. So
Yeah.
if you do hire drivers, is transportation available to individuals who need to come to the programming or want to come?
If they want to come to the retreat,
The senior retreat.
it's possible we can work things out.
Do individuals leave that week with any of the equipment maybe that they've trained on that they would benefit from at home, or is it something they
Um,
have to purchase?
uh, no significant pieces of equipment. Um, they may get things like writing guides or a signature guide or
Okay.
small things like that. The other thing about coming to the retreat and establishing a relationship with us is that we become a resource for you. Um, there are hundreds of thousands of things and gadgets and gizmos
Hmm.
out there, some that are great, uh, worthwhile, worth the price, others not so much, and some that are frankly just a ripoff.
Hmm.
We can be a source of information in that regard too. And I don't know if I
Okay.
mentioned it earlier, but anyone who wants to go to the senior retreat, there is a medical form that's involved. You have to
Okay.
be in charge of your own medications while you're here. So there is a process that happens.
In general, do they have more than one opportunity to go through the retreat, or is it kind of a one-time retreat only?
We've had some folks who've come back for another retreat. They tend to, want people who have never had the experience
Okay.
uh, to come first. Almost always there's a waiting list,
Wow. Okay.
depending on how many applicants there are, because, and we want that waiting list because some people get sick or, you know, for whatever reason, can't attend that week, and we have folks on deck ready to go.
Okay.
So I think typically, I'll have to find out the exact numbers. It's between um, 20 and 22 individuals um, who are experiencing vision loss, and then plus whatever plus ones want to attend. So it's usually a group between 35 and 40 people for
Wow.
each of the 2 weeks.
Wisconsin with Jennifer Shimon and Angie Zelig. I would love to learn a little bit about your Adventures in Vision Loss program for adults. Can you please tell me a little bit about how your program works and where it's held?
Sure. So my name is Jennifer Shimon, and I'm here with my coworker Angie Zelig, and we work through the state of Wisconsin Office for the Blind and Visually Impaired. And so there are 11 of us on our team that work across the state. And most of our time is spent working with people one-on-one in their home environment, people that have vision loss. So we're problem solving, daily living skills, technology, those types of things in the home. But once a year, our group comes together and we teach an introductory program. It's called Adventures in Vision Loss, and it's held in Rosholt, Wisconsin at the Lions Campground. And so we hold it at the Lions Campground because the Lions Club in general, they have like 8 global causes that they raise money for, and vision loss is one of them. So it's kind of a mutually beneficial thing that the Lions Club gives us their campground at a reasonable rate, and we're supporting them as well. So that's where we hold it.
That's awesome. So participants have the opportunity to stay overnight and come to the camp and participate in day programming and after hours activities?
Yes, yep. It's a 5-day program. And we have people come on a Sunday evening around like 4 o'clock, and we do an orientation, and dinner and a tour. And then the next 3 days are classes on vision loss. And we do have other activities held in the evening and in between times.
Very cool. So are all participants 55 and over, or is there a wider age range that can participate?
So it's people age 18 and up. There's no upper age limit to it. We do a screening. There's an application process, and we do a screening to make sure that the client is appropriate for the setting, and medically stable, and that they're independent with self-care and mobility. They don't necessarily have to have great cane skills or orientation skills because it's a new environment, but just that they're able to physically, balance, strength, mobility, move around independently.
That makes perfect sense. So 18 and up, that's new. I have not heard that yet. So there is a wider age range participating in this program. That's very unique. Okay. So in terms of funding, maybe for older adults, do OIB funds cover the cost for those participants to attend?
This is Angie, and yes, ILOB funding is part of it, but then we also have state funding as well.
Okay. Okay. So is there any cost for the participant themselves, transportation to and from the retreat site, or maybe cost of supplies or food, anything that they know they have to be responsible for?
Everything is free for the participants. So we stay in a lodge or a cabin, and staying overnight is free of charge. The food is free of charge. The training is free of charge. If participants are able to have transportation to and from this training event, that is very helpful. We are a small staff, but there have been times where if somebody was very appropriate for the program and really wanted to go, but they didn't have transportation, then our staff has been able to assist. We've also, from time to time, if people have not had transportation to and from the program, because this is Lions Camp, Lions Club members are very helpful as well. And they've been kind enough to transport people to and from camp also.
That is very nice. That's an amazing perk to collaborating with them.
It certainly is.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So in terms of skills that the individuals learn, since it is such a wider age range, are you doing a consistent curriculum, or does the curriculum change each year depending on maybe who's participating in the program?
In general, we stick with the same type of programming. We have 6 classes, and those would be daily living skills, communication and braille, technology, orientation and mobility, cooking, and resources and discussion on vision loss. And we've been doing this training event for a number of years. This is going to be, I believe, our 11th year. So throughout the years, we've kind of tweaked a few things along the way, just as anybody would when they're first getting something off the ground. But we've really established after this time just a good set core of skills to be taught. And as far as the classes themselves, all of the classes except for resources and discussion on vision loss are smaller classes. And then for resources and discussion on vision loss, that's where we come as a large group to discuss. And we've really seen the benefit of that. People really learn a lot from each other.
That makes perfect sense. Are they, for after hours activities, are there any kind of fun things, rec and leisure that they get to do after that hard day of training and learning all those skills?
Oh, definitely. And because the environment is so beautiful, we really take advantage of that. So the 3 training days are Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. When people arrive on Sunday evening, we do a tour of camp so that people become a little bit more familiar with the grounds and where they will need to go the following morning. We get together as a group to introduce ourselves and break the ice so that people start to feel a little bit more comfortable. And then on Monday, we tend to do a pontoon boat ride, weather permitting, because the Lions camp has just a lovely lake. And so we rent a pontoon boat too, and then we just go around the lake for a while and just enjoy the scenery and the outdoors. And then on Tuesday, we have a dog guide panel that's always of interest to people so they can learn a little bit more about schools and the relationship that one might have with their dog and the ins and outs of it. And then on Wednesday, we have a big bingo party. So if people decide that they just want to kind of sit out those optional evening activities, they certainly can. If they want to, sometimes people will bring their, audiobooks to listen to. Sometimes impromptu things happen. One year we had an Elvis impersonator, so he did a performance. That was great. And then we had a rock and roll guy, so he did a performance as well. So the classes are mandatory during the day, the 6 that I spoke of. But in the evening, there's lots of things that people can participate in. And then we bring just games too, if anybody wants to do that. So lots of options.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It sounds like a lot of fun.
It is.
In terms of your training staff, I'm not very familiar with Wisconsin. Do you typically have certified staff on hand? Is it like a peer mentor or structured discovery? What kind of staff? And then even just student to staff ratios do you all keep for that kind of an activity?
Yeah, so we have a mix of different backgrounds on our staff. I'm an occupational therapist by background. We have 2 people on our team that are orientation and mobility specialists. We have one certified in technology, CADA certification, one low vision therapist. And then we also have an LPN that we hire to stay on site in case of any medical issues.
Awesome.
And we also contract for one more orientation and mobility instructor so that in that class, it tends to be more one-on-one if we can manage that for that year. And the classes themselves, I think Angie mentioned they're smaller classes. They tend to be 3 to 4 people in the class. They rotate through the classes. It's the same class every day. Like they'll go to cooking Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday with different topics. And they'll be with the same group in that class, but then we mix people up through the other classes. So it's a really nice size group. At minimum, we want 14 people to attend our program, and at maximum 18. And that is due to the size of our staff and how we can function and work with that many people, because we're really responsible the entire time that they're at this camp, day and night. But then we also, it's a nice size group because people get to know one another. Really long lasting relationships build from this camp. So it's enough people that come that you're exposed to other people with vision loss and you really get to connect with people, but not so big that it's really overwhelming. From when they first arrive, that first evening, you can just feel the nervousness, to by the next day, I say after people have a couple classes under their belt, you can just feel everyone start to relax a little bit more. They understand what the program is about, and then really thrive in this type of setting where they're with people that understand what they're going through. So
that's awesome. And In terms of that nervousness, do you ever allow family members or significant others to come with the individual?
Ask that question very often because people, like I said, it's a scary thing to be dropped off at a campground in northern Wisconsin, not knowing very many people. So we get that question a lot, and we do not allow a +1 or someone to come along because the whole purpose of the experience is to promote independence and growth. So the point is to step away from your support system, which is really hard to do, but it's an amazing thing that happens when people do that. We've been developing and now have started giving a packet of resources and information to family and the support system on how to support the person that attends camp as well. So we do a lot leading up to the program with phone calls and asking people what their concerns are, really trying to make a connection before this program starts because of those nerves.
In terms of equipment, do the individuals get to take any equipment home, or do they just kind of learn about equipment and then they can purchase equipment on their own later?
When it comes to equipment for the various classes, oftentimes the instructors will provide different types of equipment for people to take home with them.
Okay.
So for example, if we take the cooking class, for example, if people are finding helpful a liquid level indicator or measuring cups with the large indicators of the half cup, fourth cup, that type of thing, oftentimes we have these things to give out to help people. If there's something that somebody finds helpful, again, they were brought to camp at the suggestion or the approval of their rehabilitation specialist. So if there's something at camp or this training event, I should say, that's particularly helpful, then that individual can work with their rehabilitation specialist. If it's something that might really benefit them, but perhaps it's a hardship to afford. And then, of course, I'm gonna go back to those bingo prizes. We do have some really nice things too that we put specifically for people to be able to help them, with the classes that we had provided instruction in.
Are there any things that you maybe don't cover during that week in terms of programming or topics that you kind of leave for individual training, things that you would like to include, but you just have had to keep separate for whatever reason?
Yes, that would be because this training event is targeted as an introductory type of class, and because we really only have 3 days, we cannot delve too deeply into these subject matters. So as far as things that we really don't touch on, those would be more in-depth types of instruction. If I go, for example, with technology, obviously there's a lot that can be learned in technology and it evolves so quickly. So we just do an introductory level on these kinds of things. And then if somebody wants more assistance when they get home, if they've got maybe an Android phone and they want to learn more about their particular phone, or they need more instruction and orientation and mobility, then they follow up with their rehab specialist upon their return home.
Does somebody have to be a resident of Wisconsin? Do you ever take people from outside of the state that don't have maybe access to a retreat program in their state to participate in training?
Jen?
Sure. We do have a requirement that the person is a Wisconsin resident.
Okay.
It has been pretty common that we have ended up in wait lists for the program.
Wow.
Just internally. So, and very often we get asked for follow-up programming, an additional week, a more advanced level camp after this one. And at this time, we just do this introductory program. What's really nice though is the Lions camp, they have summer programming where they do camps all summer long, and one of them is for adults with vision loss. So if people meet people at our program and they get to know the campground and feel comfortable, they can attend a summer camp, more of a recreational focused program in summer for a week. And that is up to 150 people.
Oh, wow.
And you can go year after year, where our camp is a one-time attendance.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. So they kind of go through one time and then they have to go on to other forms of training.
Correct.
Okay. What have you guys found to be the most helpful to the consumers that they're coming away with and they're talking about the most?
I think probably Jen and I will both answer this question because this is so impactful for the participants and also for the staff. I can't possibly express in words how moving this event can be. So, like Jen had mentioned before, people show up in this new environment. They're kind of essentially dropped off. They don't know anybody except maybe their rehabilitation specialist, and that's about it. So new people, new environment, and not only just for a day, but 5 days, day and night. And so sometimes people are oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? I'm a little nervous here. And so we have seen people get teary-eyed when their loved ones leave. But then those bonds form so quickly, and we see people with more vision helping those with less vision, and all these people just come together to form these great relationships, so that literally by the end so Thursday everybody departs in between 10 and 11, and by Thursday people are literally crying because they say they don't want to leave. They've had such a good time, really good friendships. I think one of the greatest things is we give out these certificates of completion for people, which matters a lot to them. So everybody gets the certificate of completion, but then each participant also receives their own individual award. And those are so cute. So some examples that I jotted down, because I think they're pretty neat, is one of them is the Walking Wizard Award for greatest improvement in cane skills, or Running with the Bulls Award for the biggest risk taker, and Snickers Award for making everyone laugh. So this coming together on Thursday with everybody laughing because they've had such a great time and crying because it's coming to an end is really very moving. And I'll pass it on to Jen because I know she's got things to say about this training event too.
Yeah, I don't even know how to follow up after that. I completely agree. A lot of times the staff are teary at the end as well, listening to the large group discussion. Every time I leave camp, I think it's one of the most important things that we do. So I second that. I would also say that I think it's really beneficial for the people that come to camp to just be exposed to the rest of our staff. They're working one-on-one in our regions, but to be exposed to the different talents and skills is priceless as well. And we do at the last day of camp, we also do an exit interview where we ask a few questions. If people feel like they've gained confidence, gained skills, and then we ask for comments and suggestions. And after everybody leaves, we do a debrief and we talk through and we look through the surveys. And really, the minute we're done with one camp, Angie and I are on to the next year working on planning, taking into consideration what people have told us and, how can we make some improvements. So we definitely take the feedback that we get as well.
That's awesome. It sounds like it really supports that adjustment process for those people kind of new to some vision loss or really working through those beginning stages of that vision loss. That's awesome. One last question. Do you have any tips for programs that might be considering taking on something like this? Maybe they've never thought about doing a retreat, but they would love to do it after hearing the benefits. What would you tell them in getting started with something like this?
Oh,
Yeah, I was just going to say, I feel like Angie and I have worked, is this our third year running it? But I came into a well-developed program. It was already in place. So a lot of people did the really hard work early on. I would say that we would be open to anybody reaching out to us. There's more we could talk about in terms of the planning and the timeline, our application process and things like that. So we would be more than happy to talk to somebody more individually about some of those components.
mm-hmm. And I would say too that maybe to start a little When we first started this program about 11 years or so ago, we actually had one more day of training. So our training event actually was longer than what it is now. But we just found with the extra day of training, the participants were quite tired. The staff, it's a challenge because it's a long time to be there, and it's intensive, and the participants are learning a lot. So we personally have found that the 3 training days have worked well for us personally. And then, of course, Sunday with the drop off, and then Thursday with wrapping up. But that was just something we ourselves have found as we've developed it throughout the years.
That makes
But it's
perfect.
been just an awesome experience.
Well, and that makes perfect sense. There is kind of an information overload. You get to like information saturation. So it makes sense that 3 days would be, the most effective, and then everybody has time to process.
Yes, and that information overload is a good point too, because Jen had alluded to the fact that we do this exit survey and we ask for information from the participants so we can improve each year. And one of the pieces of feedback that we've gotten is, you've provided us with so much information. If each instructor could give us a handout or information of what we covered during class so we can take that back and refer to it or show our family members and our friends so that we have a reference. So we've done that as well, which has been very helpful.
Well, thank you, Angie and Jen, for all of the information. We definitely will let everybody know that you are open to more questions. You might have some programs reaching out to you. Thank you so much for your time.
We hope you've enjoyed learning about these effective models for retreat training. Many other agencies and organizations across the country have similar programs. You can learn more on our website at OIB-TAC.org. That's OIB-TAC.org. And we hope you'll consider how starting a retreat training program could help the older adults you serve.